Thank you very much, sir. That puts more pressure on me. I must come up with something interesting or something innovative. Uh, Not being in the business of giving any advice, because I do not believe Islamabad, Kabul, or Washington are waiting for my advice. So only my assessment, and that too because of the time constraint, in the forms of bullet points. Points of agreement with Ambassador Ashraf Ghazi. I think I started my work in Afghanistan along with him, so maybe that is why we seem to be agreeing on so many of them. I agree, sir, with you on three major points. The real exit strategy that we understood last year, which was coming out of Washington and as we interpreted, that is not being followed. Yes, the military, the patriots and so on and so forth, they have overtaken, and not only they, but there are other power. Mohit can tell us a little more about those power centers, but the CIA, the Foreign Office, the Republicans, the so-called military industrial complex, they have taken over, and so they have scuttled the old policy, the old exit strategy, which one could read, and that is the surge would only be as a force in being to give a message, basically people back home, but actual thing was going to be done through a political maneuver, political dialogue. That has not happened. I will give you my assessment what is happening now. The second point that I do agree is that we are a partner in this crime, war against our own people in different areas, since we are conniving, so that makes us a partner in this crime. And the third point, very interesting, that is, again, to my mind, a correct one. An independent Afghanistan, master of its identity, will take its decision, and they cannot go against the interest of Pakistan. They've never done that. You're right, 65-71 war. One of the veterans of these two wars, the message was always the same: take away your troops from the western borders, you have no problems from us. Although there were problems with those. And I think, Begum Sahaba, but the point that you've made about Iran is again very relevant. Actually, I would not worry too much, because one knows that the Iranians also have the same interest for Afghanistan in their heart as we have. Get vacated of the foreign occupation. As a proof, I can say that plenty of media in Afghanistan is financed by Iran. And the media that they are sponsoring is not spreading any anti-Pakistani venom. So that line has not been given to that medium, the media that they are sponsoring. There are other voices too, but we know about those voices. After that, let me also come to this particular point, endgame. Yes, as far as that part of exiting from Afghanistan is concerned of the foreign forces, there one can say that the end game started maybe about a year ago, and it is continuing. How it is played out, that is the one that I like to say a few words. The declared exit strategy is of course not the correct, not the actual one. The one that was spelled out in Lisbon, that gradually the areas would be handed over to Afghan National Army, and some sort of a dialogue would take place. That was, and withdrawal would take place. That was a message to be given to their home constituencies, because these were the only elements on which some agreement could be reached, as they say, minimum common agreement amongst the NATO countries. So many of them, their troops there. Some of them wanted to withdraw earlier. The others were no longer interested. So to ensure that they can continue for the next about 3 to 4 years, this so-called exit strategy was announced 2014, because only then some of the countries would remain there. By saying that we will hand over gradually to the Afghan National Army, they were committing a bigger crime than this one, because we know, you know, I think anyone who deals with Afghanistan would know that Afghan National Army, regardless of how well trained and how well equipped it may be, cannot ensure security in Afghanistan. That's the way Afghanistan is configured. A tribal society, look at the geography, look at the topography, look at its history. When has a regular army played any role in its defense or in attacking anyone else, unless it was with agreement or in agreement with the major factions? So is the tribal consensus that ensures security. But when I say it is a big crime, it is because billions of dollars have been spent on its training. Most of them, of course, were taken away by the American so-called private companies and private defense contractors. But to continue with that embezzlement and continue with that skimming of the money, we've said we will hand it over. Afghan army, the way it is configured nowadays, ethnic divide, officers, mostly non-Pashtuns, troops, maybe 40 to 50% Pashtuns, but usually of suspect loyalty, and that keeps happening. So that is not the one. But what is it that they actually would be, I mean, our assessment as to what is it that they would be doing in the coming years? And that is where the bad news starts. Primarily, the militaries as they operate, they still would insist that we must secure a position of strength, predominance, before we can talk, before the Taliban can be arm twisted to talk. I think Ambassador Qazi has already said that in that case they will not. My questions usually are as follows. I understand the logic, because so many times one has talked about that logic. But considering how the things are going in Afghanistan, what would happen if the Taliban, of the opposition's position, further improves? Then you will not even have this so-called face-saving withdrawal, then it will be a rout or a retreat. Secondly, supposing that you have actually weakened them, then the Taliban, the Ambassador says, will not talk. And lastly, this is again inside information, don't tell it to anyone outside this hall. If you improve your position, militaries normally would say, but now there is no need to talk. They are on the run, another little push, another couple of thousand, we got them. So that is the major flaw, and that is the flawed strategy that is likely to be followed. As far as the negotiation track is concerned, but we keep talking about no force and negotiated settlement, Afghan-led and so on, the principle is fine, but we know what has happened. It's not only that scam in which someone went and conned them to the tunes of a couple of $100 billion or something. It is understood that the talking, the negotiating track can only happen if the overall big decision has been announced. Yes, so and so have been tasked now to bring the different Afghan factions on the negotiating table, and this is the framework that we have agreed. Those so-and-so is very difficult to find, because mostly these are going to be those Afghans who have credibility with all of them. So you'll have to do a little bit of head-inking. Maybe there are a couple of people from outside also, outside Afghanistan, who can get.
That has not taken place, and because of that, knowing the Afghans, knowing the Taliban, they will not
involve themselves in a serious dialogue process. Just the last point, absolutely the last point. We keep talking about the role that the neighbors have to play. I believe the only sensible role that outsiders can play, especially Afghanistan, is push them to the negotiating table once that framework has been agreed upon, and then get out of the room. It's going to be very difficult, I suppose. Again, the establishment just wants to know as to what is happening, anything which is happening against our interest. I think, at least from the two of us you have heard, that our interest would be an agreement, a consensus dispensation in Afghanistan. If that is reached amongst the Afghans, no one else needs to worry. That is the stability in Afghanistan. Pakistan, in any case, nothing to worry about. Iran, I suppose, will have to also accept that, because no one has any. And it will also give these occupation forces that particular face saving that they are looking for. Thank you.